Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon you all. Today we have with us Brother Ty Carter. Brother Ty Carter has been Muslim for a little over 3 years now. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what sparked his initial interest in Islam. So Ty, tell us a little bit about that.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My initial interest was kind of really on and off in a span of about 3 years. It began with, I ended up late at night speaking to a sister online from Indonesia, and we were just talking, and eventually I myself was very heavily into teaching the Bible, teaching children about certain things and different concepts. And then just kind of helping that transition into also their lives at homes. When eventually we began comparing the Quran and the Bible, she said that she also had the story of Adam and Eve in there, and one of the very striking things that kind of gave me a taste of it was when she told me about the result of how Adam and Eve, when they bit the apple, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just simply forgave them. And then it just kind of made me just really thought about how all of this is perhaps one of the things that could possibly answer some of the questions that I've had for a very, very long time. And I just never knew where to go. So after a time, I lost contact with her and just kind of began living my own life. Just went back to doing other things, playing with music and just doing different things. But at the end of the day, there was always a question that was still persistent, and that was, is there another side of all this? Some of the things that just didn't make sense to me was how unfair and unjust, the Christian narrative was for me. Was Jesus Christ the last one? And if he is, then I kind of felt like, was that message complete? And finally, eventually, I began to attend classes at GTCC, or then I met another sister, and I remember specifically, and I asked her about her hijab, and because I shared with her a story about this sister I used to speak to, and she began telling me about why she wears it and different things like that, and we began to kind of have this continuous conversation between us, and I was somewhat trying to convince her that was ridiculous and different things like that. But then little by little, I think I began to kind of question my own thing, and I actually ended up meeting a brother, and we had a conversation about Jesus Christ and different things like that. And I said a very strong statement that to this day it troubled me, and it made me kind of wonder about my deep concern with God, and my deep concern with religion, and my deep concern with my own soul. And I said to myself, whatever it is that I am placed, if I'm placed in hell, or if not, so on and so forth, he said, it doesn't really matter. I said this, and I said I deserve it, and I said whatever is the truth, and I was kind of arrogant about it. And eventually, that same sister brought back some material from a tour that was being taken place called Meet Your Muslim Neighbor, and that's when I kind of began to read the Quran more often. I spent nights, I spent days, and little by little, I found it to really put everything into perspective for me.
So you received the English translation of the meaning of the Quran that you're holding in your hand for free from a sister, and this was at a dawah event that was happening at a masjid. So just briefly, what part did that play in your journey to Islam, having free access to the translation of the Quran to read?
Well, for the most part, again, I didn't really know much about the Quran. I did know that it was in Arabic. But naturally, if it is a real religion, then it only makes sense that it would be accessible to the public and those who would be curious about it. And at first, I was only looking at things online, just kind of reading some small stuff here and there. But eventually, when I began reading the Quran itself, the very first thing that I began reading about was Surah Al-Baqarah. And obviously, in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to talk about how faith and guidance works, and what kind of examples there are out there. The people who Allah may find guidance just for a moment, and then it's snatched away from them. And I began to kind of put myself into that situation. It began to make me reflect over my own situation and think, man, like, I've been sincerely trying to seek God, since I was little. And I was the only one in my family going to Bible studies, the only one in my family going to different communities and trying different things. And I still felt this emptiness. And finally, when I got this translation of the Quran, I really felt like all my answers were being, all my questions were being answered. And so it was a real blessing to receive this.
That's amazing. Now, could you please, just to end this video, give some words of encouragement to your Muslim brothers and sisters here in the community to, support this project so that, these Qur'ans can continue to be free in college campuses and dawah organizations and prisons, hospitals all over the country?
Well, number one, I think that the Quran has, what's interesting to me about the Quran is it has something that, for everyone in particular. And I think that for a book, if you say that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is going to definitely affect a person on that personal level. And I think by not supporting it, you're definitely taking that away from those out there who are really in need of it. Who really need their questions answered, who are really going through a spiritual crisis, or even a emotional or physical crisis. They need that, and I think the Quran is definitely hope and mercy to those in need of it. So please definitely support it.
Brother Ty, thank you very much. May God Almighty continue to increase you in faith and take your soul as a believing Muslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon you all.